What's going on, YouTube? This is Ricky J, and welcome to another UFC 6 video. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about the elephant in the room, the thing that people are not talking about, or shall I say things, and that is the lack of change when it comes to the grappling and the clinch. But before we get into that, man, I have to say huge props to EA Sports for focusing on fighter individuality, man. Like when I played the beta, the stand-up game has changed for the better, minus the flow state. Oh my gosh, man. We're not going to get into the flow state right now, but as far as fighter uniqueness is concerned, EA has done a tremendous job making the striking styles for these guys to be just so fun to use. I love using Whitaker. That wild, I think it was his lead left hook, how he throws it kind of in an awkward kind of angle because he just doesn't want to get clipped. So he kind of throws it by leaning back a little bit and kind of going off to the side. That is huge pluses, man, when it comes to the game showcasing the fighter uniqueness. And then even like MVP being so elusive and free flowing, and then Pereira being just so powerful and technical. It's really cool what they did to the stand-up game. Minus the flow state. They got to get rid of that flow state, man. This ain't EA Tekken or Mortal Kombat. But as far as the whole premise of this video, the lack of talk when it comes to the grappling and the clinch. Now, I watch the top guys when it comes to EA Sports. I'm talking about Martial Mind, the legend. Prioxis, also all these guys are legends. Prioxis, I watch him. I watch Nas UFC. I just love watching those Nas videos where he like goes undercover and totally humiliates his opponent. Man, that guy's ruthless. So fun to watch. And then the other guy, what's his name again? Nebulati. Yeah, I watch him. Nebulati. I'm just kidding, man. I know his name. Nabality. I love those guys. That's a joke. It was a hidden joke from one of his videos. I can't remember which MMA fighter called them Nebulati, but I watch Nabality, Nas UFC, Prioxis, and Martial Mind. Go check out their channels. They're the best, man. Best in the biz. But nobody's really putting weight on the lack of change when it comes to the grappling and clinch systems. Now, I just want to talk about how that change, in my opinion, should have been made. Like the strides that they're moving forward with the striking is great, but the lack of change in the grappling is something that I hope doesn't slow down the progression of this series. Now, I want to talk about the UFC 2, UFC 3 days, the clinch. The old clinch system was a tremendous system. I don't mind if it ain't broken, don't fix it. They need to go back. Like, I love back in the UFC 2 3 days when you would get into over under and you can kind of neutralize your opponent by denying their transitions and really slowing down the pace of the fight, simulating what a matchup would be like if you actually got into the clinch and knew what to do in the clinch. The old clinch system was so good. And then also, like, when you would get, like, single collar, and then when you would get the plum, man, the denies you could do when guys didn't know how to get out of that, it was pretty deadly to be in that situation when you got the plum against Anderson Silva. For me, I rearrange people's noses. Ask ask Rich Franklin. He should be called Poor Franklin after that, guys. Anyway, back to the video. But it was great how that was, man. They should go back to the old clinch system. I just, again, in my previous video, I don't understand why they kept the clinch the same. You got to move forward and change things that aren't working. What happens right now is the clinch system is too quick. You get in it and you get out of it quickly. And there's no way, really, when you're playing in the game with like two really good players, to like stay in the clinch. The old system had you slow the pace down, especially if you were getting rocked, if you're getting outclassed on the feet. You kind of had a safe haven if you knew what to do in the clinch to stay in there. And they totally got rid of it. Also, I like the old submission system with the gates, but that's up for debate. I don't know if I like how the submission system, especially in the beta and in UFC 5, it was like a bar. So if you, like, I kind of stopped playing the series because of the lack of interest, but for me, but with the submission system, that bar was full, and sometimes like you would get the submission and then the person wouldn't tap, the bar would just kind of go down like 3/4 of the way or halfway. I don't know, fill me in, tell me if I'm wrong, if you could get like an early tap. I remember facing a guy, Retro Rocky, back in the UFC 2 and 3 days. That guy was a submission machine. And I remember like starting a matchup with him, and I think he's using Charles Oliveira, and I got tapped within 5 seconds, and that is realistic. They need to go back, in my opinion, to the old submission system with the gates. That was great. Now, as far as the grappling's concerned, there was a problem in the beta. Sometimes when I would get into like a grappling kind of exchange, it would be very slow. I think they're going to fix that. I definitely believe they're going to fix that. But the grappling on the UFC 6 is the same. People need to talk about it. There needs to be more noise for EA Sports to know that the grappling system is old and stale. Like, I watch all those guys, and they're doing great things. I don't comment in the video just because sometimes I just want to watch and not comment. But people just mention it, but don't go over just how important it is that the grappling system needed to change. It needed to evolve. Like, I just don't get it, man. And then with UFC 6 coming out, that flow state's gotta go, brother. That is not a simulation of true MMA, man. And I said it in my previous video, you can't just flip a switch in real life and get into a flow state. Like, I was doing all the impressions in the last video. But Alistair Overeem, well, when I was in a fight, I was in a bit of trouble. But I pushed down on the D-pad and got in my flow state, and I knocked out Brock Lesnar. That's what I do. I want to thank my mama. I eat a horse meat in the morning, afternoon, and night to keep my muscle. So yeah, it shouldn't be a moment where you flip a switch. I don't like how it goes all dark and you turn into like Raiden. And he throws punches. Huss, 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 huss. It is wild. I feel like that flow state really needs to go. Or it needs to happen naturally, like I said before. But more talk needs to go into this grappling being a problem. And then also, back in the UFC 2 and 3 days, when you were in guard on top, you were able, and mount, you were able to posture up and throw elbows, multiple elbows. And then people forget. Do you remember when the elbows weren't working? You were able to throw hammer fists. You could throw hammer fists while you're on the mat and elbows. It's 2026, and it's so sad to say, and again, I want this game to be great, that you cannot throw elbows and I believe hammer fists in the game. Like, I just don't understand why that's not happening. And then also, like, on another note, didn't they change the rules in MMA that you could now do 12 to 6 elbows? Like, tell me if I'm wrong, but they got to implement those rules as well. They definitely need to add those rules as well, that those animations, the 12 to 6 elbows. I believe you could do it. That was the only reason why John Jones has a loss on his record, because he was up against Matt Hamill and he throwed the 12 to 6 elbows, and then Hamill's like, I can't continue, man. I'm going to get the win and not die in the ring. That was the only reason why Jones got an L. But as a whole, I just feel like we need to let EA Sports know in a respectful way that changes need to be made to the grappling and the clinch. It will really improve just the whole experience of the game. So like the fighter uniqueness is fantastic. I'm not here to bash the game. I'm only making these videos because I care about this game. I want to get back into the whole EA Sports UFC community. But the grappling's got to change. It's sad that that's not going to happen, and the clinch as well, and the flow state. But more chatter needs to go through to let them know that the priority moving forward now is change the grappling and then go to the old clinch. I like the old clinch, man. And then also they should have a system where when you're tired, I'm stuttering. When guys are tired and they grapple, their punches should have no stopping power at all. If you ever watch a fight and guys are exhausted and they're on the mat, you know, like in the third round, they're not really throwing those type of power punches to end the fight. It's almost like pitter-patter punches. They should have that implemented in the game, that when guys are exhausted, the punches on the mat don't do a lot of damage. And then also, I don't know how they could do this moving forward, but when your guy starts to really sweat, they're able to kind of slither out of submissions. That would be cool if they added that in the game, where later on in the fight, when you're dripping in sweat, that it's easier to actually get out of submissions. There's so much they could do with this game, with this series, to make it innovative and fun. They're on the right foot when it comes to the stand-up game. I cannot wait to see the deep dive, to see what modes are available, but also to see the fighter uniqueness as a whole when the full game comes out. But anyways, guys, man, I've rambled on for way too much. Once again, man, I am hoping for this whole series to be great. These videos are made because I'm being 100% honest. Grappling needs to change. Clinch needs to change. Submissions need to change as well. Quick submissions can happen, but I don't see it happening often in UFC 5 or in the UFC 6 beta. I don't think anybody got a submission while I played for like, 14 hours in the beta. But anyways, guys, man, let me know your thoughts on this. Are you happy with what you see so far in UFC 6? Are you okay that everything's the same in the grappling and the clinching realm, submission realm? Are you happy with the fighter uniqueness and can look past the things that weren't changed? Let me know. Sound off in the comments, and I'll see you guys soon. It's Ricky J, man. Love you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.